You know that moment when your cat enters the room, doesn't look at you, doesn't acknowledge you at all, and somehow just knowing it's there makes your body feel lighter? Your shoulders drop, your mind slows down, and something inside you finally stops bracing. If that feels familiar, this video isn't just interesting, it's personal. Because people who adore cats aren't drawn to them by accident, and it has nothing to do with being cold, antisocial, or distant. It has everything to do with how your nervous system survives the world. Let me ask you something. When your cat ignores you all day, then suddenly chooses your lap like it was part of some private schedule only it understands, do you feel rejected? Or do you feel chosen? If you felt the second one, you're about to understand something important about yourself. Here's what most people misunderstand about people who adore cats. It's not a personality trait, it's a regulation strategy. Some nervous systems regulate through stimulation, through movement, noise, interaction, feedback. They feel calm when energy is flowing outward. Other nervous systems do the opposite. They regulate through stillness, through predictability, through environments where nothing is demanded of them. For those people, calm doesn't come from engagement, it comes from absence of pressure. And cats exist almost perfectly in that space. A cat doesn't rush toward you to fix your mood. It doesn't mirror your emotions. It doesn't ask you to perform happiness or reassurance. It simply exists and lets you exist next to it. For people who spend most of their lives monitoring tone, reading rooms, anticipating reactions, and adjusting themselves accordingly, that kind of presence is rare. When someone says, "I don't like loud places," they're describing overstimulation. When they say, "I don't like needy energy," they're describing emotional overload. And when they say, "I adore cats," they're describing regulation. People who adore cats aren't choosing distance, they're choosing environments where their bodies can finally downshift. This is why the bond feels different, because the connection cat lovers feel isn't just comforting, it's safe. Human relationships, no matter how loving, come with unspoken demands. Respond quickly, explain yourself, match energy, be expressive, be available. Even affection often comes with expectations. Why aren't you more enthusiastic? Why don't you need me the same way I need you? Why are you so quiet? For sensitive or observant nervous systems, that constant negotiation is exhausting. Cats don't operate like that. A cat never assumes access to you. Its affection is offered, not imposed. When it sits beside you, it doesn't require conversation. When it leaves, it doesn't ask for reassurance. And when it returns, it doesn't demand an explanation for where you've been emotionally. That creates something rare, connection without intrusion. And that's why people who adore cats aren't avoidant of intimacy, they're avoidant of pressure. There's also something happening beneath awareness. A cat's purr vibrates at low, rhythmic frequencies that your nervous system responds to automatically. Before you think, before you interpret, before you label an emotion, your body begins to slow. Breathing deepens, muscle tension releases, stress hormones decrease. Low-frequency, repetitive sounds signal safety to the brain. They say, nothing urgent is required right now. No vigilance, no response, just presence. For people who spend their lives managing emotional environments, this kind of regulation is almost impossible to find. Silence can feel empty, noise can feel overwhelming, but a purr sits perfectly in between. It fills space without invading it. That's why people who adore cats don't describe excitement, they describe grounding, a sense that their internal pace has finally matched the world around them. This is co-regulation without conversation, comfort without performance. And once your nervous system learns that a certain presence brings it back into balance, attachment forms naturally. Now let's talk about the stereotype. Yes, research shows cat lovers often score higher in traits like openness and cognitive complexity, but it's not because cats make people smarter. It's because certain traits cluster together. People who adore cats tend to value uninterrupted attention, reflection, depth, creative solitude, and all of those require long stretches of mental quiet. Cats don't fragment attention. They coexist alongside focus without demanding it. They don't pull your awareness outward every few minutes. They protect the conditions deep thinking needs to exist. This is why so many writers, artists, and thinkers gravitate toward cats, not because cats inspire intelligence, but because they don't interrupt it. Modern culture treats quiet as a problem to fix. Stillness is framed as loneliness. Solitude is framed as avoidance. But for people who adore cats, quiet is where clarity forms. There's one more layer most people miss. Your brain responds strongly to something called the baby schema. Large eyes, rounded features, soft movements. These signals activate caretaking instincts before conscious thought. Cats fit this pattern almost perfectly. So when you feel a deep urge to protect a creature that clearly doesn't depend on you, that's your nervous system responding, not your logic. For many people, this feels safe because care flows outward without emotional demand in return. The cat doesn't monitor your mood. It doesn't require cheerfulness. It doesn't ask you to explain yourself. For people who learned early to be emotionally contained, nurturing something that doesn't intrude can feel easier than receiving care themselves. And that matters. But here's the truth underneath all of this. This was never really about cats. It was about the kind of nervous system you have and the kind of world it feels safest in. If you adore cats, it doesn't mean you're distant. It means you're wired for subtlety, for presence without pressure, for connection that doesn't demand constant output. Cats don't test loyalty. They don't confuse intensity with intimacy. They don't need you to prove affection. They stay because they want to. And that's why people who adore cats are often drawn to them so deeply. In a culture obsessed with being needed, they've chosen to love something that stays by preference, not dependency. So the next time your cat ignores you for hours, then suddenly appears like nothing happened, remember this. Your cat didn't just choose you. Your body chose your cat. And if that made you feel understood, consider subscribing for more deep psychological dives like this.